Good morning, all. My name is Ryan Souza. I'm one of the senior investment managers here at Sharewise. We're here with James Wilson from Alchemy Resources. He's going to give us a quick chat about the company today, and then after that, we're just going to do a bit of a Q&A session. So I'm going to pass it over to James now, and we'll let him spin his yarn.
Thanks very much, Ryan. I'm James Wilson. I'm the CEO of Alchemy Resources. I'll just share my screen, as Ryan said there, and I'll go from there for a quick run through of what Alchemy's up to at the moment. Just a disclaimer there for investment purposes. Please feel free to have a read of that at your leisure. Right, who is Alchemy? Well, we're a fairly diverse company at the moment. We've, in about the last 12 months, has seen a bit of a change in the company's focus. Previously, we were a gold-only company with a big tenure in the Kalgoorlie region, sort of the heartland of gold and gold mining and exploration in Australia. And we've found a few other things in the same area that we've been working in. We've found lithium on our ground. We're right next to a new lithium mine that's in development called Mana, owned by Global Lithium Resources. And at the same time, we've also been invested in a joint venture up in the Bryah Basin with copper gold. We have iron ore potential up there. That's a new emerging opportunity. And we also have base metals in New South Wales and a good land position over there in proximity to some of the majors. So we've got, we're not trying to be the windsock resources of the periodic table. It's just that's where our focus is. And we're not a grassroots explorer either. We've got a lot of advanced projects, and I'll just run through that now. So as you can see, the map of the Australian projects, dominantly Western Australia and New South Wales. Our cash position as at the March quarter was 3.6 million, and today at a 0.7%, that's 0.7 cents per share price, gives us a market cap of 8.2 and an enterprise value of 4.6, and I'll guarantee that I can generate better value than that number in today's presentation. As the focus was earlier, we were saying Coroni in Western Australia. It's 100% owned ground by Alchemy, traditionally gold ground, now also exploring for LCT pegmatites on there as well. And we have a 110,000 ounce resource there as well, right next to existing mines. In the Bryah, which is in the north of WA, north of Meekatharra, we've got the iron ore exploration and a joint venture actually with Catalyst Metals with gold, with a actual development ready open pit that's ready to go, which we could provide cash flow for our Alchemy shareholders down the track. In New South Wales, we've got an 80% joint venture there with Develop Global. We have 3 assets there, the Yellow Mountain, Overflow and Westland assets, which is high-grade copper gold and base metals and gold and nickel cobalt. So onto Coroni. This is looking at Western Australia, the Kalgoorlie region over there. You can see where Kalgoorlie is on the map. 110 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie there along the Transaccess Road, pretty much all year round road. It goes to our project area, which is roughly in the Coroni area there, which is about 1,200 square kilometres of ground, stretches for about 90 kilometres. As I said previously, historically all gold exploration, not much else other than that. And we're having success doing it. We've got 110,000 ounces there. We're right on the border of a mine site there. This area down here is called the Aldous mine, owned by Silver Lake Resources, or Silver Lake and now Red 5. And we've got 3 little small sort of, or up to 111,000 ounces of gold resources near surface, just on the border of their mine. So we're looking at ways we can try and monetize that or expand those as well. But as I said, they're like 500 meters from their existing mining infrastructure. About 18 months ago, we were wandering around doing some mapping, and we came across pegmatites in our part of the world, and we've since expanded that search. We have found spodumene and lepidolite on our ground, and it makes sense given that we are proximity to the Mana deposit there, which is only 7 kilometres up the road. Up in Lake Rebecca, that's largely a gold-only project at the moment, but we have been looking for LCT pegmatites up there too. We're right on the boundary of Northern Star's Caruso Dam mine. That's about a 5 million ounce gold deposit, and Rebecca, which is owned by Ramelius Resources. So we're sandwiched in between the two. Never really explored for lithium and very sparsely explored for gold. And it's a great footprint to have for the company. Just moving to the Coroni region in the southern area first. As I said, highly prospective tenure. We've got the, you can see our tenement package there in blue, and we surround Global Lithium's Mana deposit there. So Mana was found a few years ago. It's about 30 million tons of 1% lithium there from memory. And this granite here in the middle is what we consider to be the fertile granite, which is the source of the LCT pegmatite mineralization in the region. We're not sure it's 100% correct at the moment because we're all it's all come fairly quick and new in the area. But we have the tenure around. You can see where we've done soil sampling in there. And this is all the lithium anomalism in there at Roe Hills. And again, to the west of Roe Hills there. And this is like, 3.5 kilometers by 3.5 kilometers. This is 12 by 6. And down here, you've got another 3 by 1.5 kilometer anomaly. It takes a long time to go and check these things out because they're vast areas. But we're moving in there. We're doing more soil sampling. We've done some drilling down here at cherry, hickory, mesquite, and pecan. And as you can see in the pictures, we hit spodumene over a few meters, not a sort of a mine scale kind of discovery, but we've found spodumene in our drilling. And then we've found lepidolite in rock chips, which is the other lithium mineral, going about 0.5% on surface. So we've only done a sort of a half a dozen drill lines in here, about 1 kilometer apart. There's much more work to do in this part of the world. As mentioned, we've got 111,000 ounces there at Taupo and our Parmelia deposits, and these sit right on the border of Silver Lake Resources mining operations there. And as I said, very easy access. You can see that main road coming through there. The main trans-access railway goes through. It gets rainy, then the local council goes and fixes that up, and we can't ask for better access there. Just moving north to Lake Rebecca. This is about 60 kilometers north of Coroni. It's a bit of a busy map, but it was a targeting map that we had. As you can see, Northern Star there, 4.5 million ounce gold mine. And on the right-hand side, we've got Rebellius with their Rebecca project, and we're right in the middle of that. Lots of granites, which are the source of pegmatites and potentially LCT pegmatites, and a lot of other gold targets there you can see in gold. We've done some geochem up there. We're looking at looking sort of moving further afield, but largely our focus has been down at Coroni. But we tick things over up here as time goes on, and we're looking at doing more work there. Ultimately, I think the other mine for Remelius will probably be built up this way as well. So the area will get very, very busy indeed. Just moving north to the Briar. So this is up north of Meekatharra, as you can see on the map there, put conveniently between Port Hedland and Geraldton, north of Perth. In the blue area here, it's a joint venture that we have with Catalyst Metals. And down here is where we've got the Hermes deposit. And there's another Hermes South deposit there. We have an NSR on Hermes for mining beyond 70,000 ounces. And we have a 20% interest in the Hermes South deposit there. Now, these are permitted and ready to go. As far as I know, that the Catalyst Metals guys were doing site visits out there. And their guidance in their quarterlies was they were looking at doing more satellite mining and things like this to haul it up the road to the Plutonic gold mine, which they currently operate. So it's a really interesting part of the world. If that gets mined for Alchemy, that is cash flow to the company and shareholders, and we are free carried to the moment of production. So it's very, very easy from Alchemy's point of view and very low risk. On the south side here, in the red, is tenure that we had with Sandfire Resources and formerly Independence Group before that. So for about the last 10 years, that's been held by two very successful, very high quality companies. About $18 million worth of exploration has been spent on that ground. And there's now we're actually seeing a significant occurrence of iron ore, which we're currently investigating on that ground. And I'll explain that in a minute. So big tenure, big strategic tenure. Once DeGrussa shut down with Sandfire, they exited and moved to their overseas operations. So they handed back that joint venture. So it's great for Alchemy shareholders. As I said, we've got an $18 million database there to follow up on and have success of our own. Sort of just moving into the iron ore potential, as I was just talking about on the southern leases there. We have an asset called Valley Bore. Now, Valley Bore is down here in the south part of the Alchemy tenure in the Briar. Hasn't really been explored since 2009. So Alchemy was there in 2009 in May, and we were about to start drilling it. And then at the same time, the DeGrussa copper gold deposit was discovered. So pretty much all of the exploration shifted towards copper gold exploration. And this was basically deferred since until now. Also, the iron ore price wasn't so hot at the time. I think it was about $70 a ton. Now we're looking at about $120 a ton. So we've mapped over 2 kilometers of outcropping hematite on the ground. There's some historical results that are available on ASX, but we're looking to try and update and validate those for the new JORC standards to go in. And we've completed sampling and sampling on there with that. There's a secondary area up there called Old very fast. Just moving to news. We have a number, probably the most high-profile company in the region is Metals Acquisition Corp, who bought CSA for about $1 billion, and a number of other producers in the region with Aurelia, Kingston, and of course, we have 3 assets there. We have the Yellow Mountain asset, we have the Overflow asset, and Western, and they're all very, very different. Yellow Mountain is high-grade copper gold. Overflow is gold and metals. And Wesley will explain further on that in a moment. Just moving to Yellow Mountain. So this is an asset that's high-grade copper gold, hasn't been drilled since 1986. There was permitting issues with the government. There hasn't been any exploration on there since probably 2001. And once we get on by next month, we will be the first explorers in about 25 years to go and do anything on there. You can see the drilling results they had. There's a number of old mine shafts on the lease. 24 meters at 1% copper, 1.2% lead, 1% zinc, and they're nothing to be shirked at the moment in light of a very hot copper market as well. You can see the samples on the ground there. That green stuff there is the copper. There's some blue there, which is azurite, and there's sphalerite in there, which are all the 3 copper, lead, and zinc minerals. Of course, there's the previous explorers did do grab samples on some of these mullock stockpiles, so they weren't in situ. There was just spoils from the mine, and they were getting 7.15% copper and 6.5% lead. So there's some real proper money in the ground there, and we would look to be drill testing probably in the late first half, early second half, pending access approvals. And those access approvals are largely just a ministerial approval. Our documentation is with the minister at the moment, and we're hopeful that they will come back to us anytime now and until probably the end of next month. And we should, once we get that, we're on the ground. 20 kilometers up the road from this is a deposit that we call Overflow. There's a number of shafts on the surface, similar again, lots of sort of copper, lots of sort of really nice mineralization from all the old shafts that were mined in olden times. There's high-grade drill intercepts on this one though. So you're looking at 6 meters at 7.6 grams gold with a lead and zinc there. Again, 6 meters at 4.7, 5 meters at sort of 8s, and there's bigger results from that around. These are great results. These are all very mineable results. And it just requires a bit more drilling. We think with the Cobar systems, they have kind of a trouser leg model where sort of 2 trouser legs come off the main ore body. So we're thinking that there could be an opportunity at depth down here. But really, Alchemy is all about more structurally understanding these things, challenging old ideas and looking at new ways to try and expand the resource. And that will hopefully be along strike, do some more shallow drilling in there to go and infill the gold resource that wasn't really looked at because they went for the main game at depth, and also look to the south. There's lots of historical drill intercepts a few kilometers away that are going percent zinc and percent lead. And so we need to really follow up on those. Just moving north to West Lynn, this is our nickel, cobalt, and HPA. This is a lateritic nickel cobalt. And I won't lie, I mean, the capex on these things is reasonably large. You're sort of looking at in other deals that have gone by, they're sort of like $1 billion. So we've got 20 million tons of 0.84 nickel, 0.05 cobalt. We've got 7 million tons of 21% alumina sitting on top of that. And that's the sort of stuff you can turn into HPA, which is the high purity alumina. So there could be a combination of mining where you're mining the nickel cobalt, or you're mining the alumina to make HPA as well, which is the stuff that's used in synthetic sapphire, battery metal stuff used in batteries and whatnot. We've recently signed an option agreement with Helix Resources, which is a spin out of, they will be spinning out their ionic metals company, which is basically us dovetailing our asset with their asset, which is about the same size and about 40 kilometers down the road. You need critical mass with nickel cobalt, especially lateritic ones, and about 80 million tons is that sort of benchmark. And between us and the ionic transaction with their deposit would be about sort of 40 or 50 straight away, straight out of the gates. As you can see, there's lots of opportunity there to infill along strike and build resources there. And we're hopeful that that will transact sometime this year. So where's Alchemy at? The indicative exploration timeline. Strong pipeline of news flow. Obviously, we've been doing RC drilling at Coroni. We've done about 3 programs there last year. We're doing lithium regional soils at the moment, all for the lithium data around Mana. It makes sense to go and find mineralization in proximity to an existing mine, and we're doing that. And looking at follow-up drilling this year on gold and on lithium. In the Bryah Basin, we have the iron ore exploration. We've been out in the field. The guys have taken samples, and results are pending on those, and we hope to share that with the market soon. In New South Wales, the Yellow Mountain land access is just waiting at ministerial approval. We think that is imminent. Their guidance from the ministry has been somewhere between now and the end of next month. So that's very hopeful that we'll get that and we'll be on the ground. And then we'll look at doing sampling and drilling of all those old high-grade copper gold intercepts that were done 20 years ago. And we'll look to follow up and validate those. Overflow, we're also looking at drilling later this year as well, once we get on the ground at Yellow Mountain. At Lake Rebecca, we've done Project Wild soil sampling, and we're doing targeting studies and continuing on with soil sampling, rock chipping, and air core drilling later this year. So it's quite an exciting time with a number of catalysts for the company going forward. So the investment thesis, just to wrap up with Alchemy, we've got a dominant lithium land position, largely untested in proximity to a mine. The portfolio is leveraged to future-facing and critical metals, but we also have gold. We've got an experienced team. I'm a geologist by background. I've spent a number of years in feasibility studies and on projects in Australia and overseas with multiple commodities. All projects are located in close proximity to lithium and gold processing infrastructure. So we're not going to get an asset that's a 2,000-kilometre drive to get to the nearest port or anything like that. Even the iron ore is 500 kilometres from port, which is eminently doable. We are fully funded for exploration in 2024. We had 3.55 million at the last quarter, and that's plenty of money to go and do what we want to do. And we will be drill testing gold, iron ore, critical metals this year. And we've got a very, very attractive enterprise value, and then we've got leverage to exploration success. This isn't a greenfields portfolio. This is very advanced, and we have 1 or 2 assets that could actually get to production very fast. So with that, there's a few mineral resources there on the back pages with the appendices, and feel free to have a look at that. I'll just unshare my screen again. There we go. Oops, stop sharing. There we go. And that's it. That's the Alchemy story. It's reasonably complex, and there's a lot going on, but we're very, very hopeful that we can monetize a number of assets short term.
Thank you very much for that one, James. I really appreciate the presentation. Found it incredibly informative. Guys, obviously we're going to open this one up to Q&A now. So if anyone would like to submit any questions for me to ask James, and we'll get a proper response, just to the Q&A inbox as the function on Zoom. I'll just get things started while we get some questions flowing in. James, you discussed the $18 million database when it comes to land. Is that a database that is going to see you guys, is that $18 million going to grow over a certain period of time, or is that something that we're currently working with, and once that is used, we'll go about kind of trying to increase the size of the database?
Yeah, for sure. If you look at the idea that Sandfire was a multi-billion-dollar company, so their targets were looking at sort of multi-billion-dollar company-sized assets of their size. Fortunately for us, we're a lot smaller. We can be a bit more nimble in the way we approach things. So if we go and find a 100,000-ounce gold resource, that would be important for Alchemy, which we could share or joint venture with our current joint venture partner across the road with Catalyst. But for someone like Sandfire, that might not have been a viable sort of economic target for them. So the great thing is the database has heritage surveys. It's got all sorts of geophysics in there, thousands and thousands of drill holes. So it's up to us to go and sift through all that data, which we basically got for free, and see what we can get out of it. And one of the first things that we found on receipt of that was all the old iron ore data. And so, there's great assets there sitting on a mining lease, and we found it weeks after we got the database. So we've gone very, very hard and focused on that very quickly because we see the opportunity.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. And then obviously with the company seeking to grow, where do you see the most recent? Where do you reckon shareholders are going to see the most the most recent growth from? Where do you reckon they're going to see in the future?
Yeah, it's sort of like it's more of a 3-tiered approach, unfortunately, at the moment. That's why we've got a lot going on. I mean, the lithium is great, and we know that there's a lithium deposit right next to us with Global Lithium. So that stands to reason that you find more generally next to existing mines. So we know that the mineralization is there. It's just a function of trying to find it. So we've got that just ticking over in the background with soils. You can also follow lithium down quite the rabbit hole as well. You can spend a lot of money and still not have any success, rather than with like gold, it's, you've either got gold or you don't kind of thing. So lithium's a bit more wily in that respect. So we're being a bit careful how we approach it, being a bit more systematic soil sampling on that. But by far, we think the best bang for the shareholders' buck is the iron ore in the Briar. That could have the capacity to get to a resource level very, very fast, purely because of the advanced stage of the mining lease. So there's a lot of hurdles that we don't have to jump through to get that to that production level if we needed to, close to port. There's nearby miners and that sort of thing. And then the other big one is New South Wales. Now, that's been 20 years in the making. It's probably taken us about 3 years to actually get the land access agreement across the line on these tenements we're talking about, and Yellow Mountain in particular. Like we said, there's 7% copper in Mullock stockpile sampling sitting on surface to follow up that no one's been able to touch for probably close to over 20 years. So it's a real, and in that time, the copper price has gone nuts. Copper price and copper market at the moment is undersourced. So if we have any kind of discovery on that, then it could very easily go to, an Aurelia up the road or a Kingston down the road, and there's mines next door to us. So I'd say there's 3 sort of primary targets, but for me, from a monetization perspective, it'd have to be the iron ore and the copper gold in New South Wales.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much for the explanation. We haven't had any questions, any further questions come through, so I think we might just wrap this one up.
No worries.
So thank you very much for your time, James.
Thanks, Ryan.
And if anybody wants to realize this one, will be uploading to the Sharewise YouTube channel within the next couple of hours.
No worries. Thanks, Ryan, and thanks for Sharewise for hosting today.
Thank you very much.